Hello, everyone, and welcome. As always, we're joined by our director, Eva Hussein, and our guest for this week is Jakob Smichka. Jakob will be taking an in-depth look on how to qualify for Czech and Slovak citizenship. If you would like to learn more about the Czech and Slovak citizenship eligibility, please subscribe to our Facebook page and to our YouTube channel where we upload videos weekly. Over to you, Eva.
Thank you, Andrea. And good morning, good evening to you, Jakub. Today we're going to be talking about eligibility for citizenship. And what I was hoping to start off with is just a basic understanding of how the legislation works. And what I mean by that, Jakub, is firstly that it's based on the law of blood. Is that right? Could you explain to us what that means and how does that work in practice?
Mm-hmm. So good morning to everyone from the Czech Republic. Thank you, Eva. Well, you said it exactly. In Europe, generally, we have a right of blood, which means it's not as important where you were born. It's more important what nationality or what citizenship your parents were when they were born. So this is how I would explain the right of blood. We have also the right of soil. Which is usual, for example, in the United States. When you were born in the United States, you are automatically American citizen, but it doesn't work like that in Czech Republic and nowhere in Europe, actually. You are muted.
Okay. Jakub, can I take you forward to about 8 years ago? To 2013, when there was a major change in legislation in the Czech Republic, and then we can work backwards with the dates. So basically what happened was that there was a major amendment to the laws that relaxed the legislation a little bit. Do you know, and can you tell us what happened in 2013?
Yeah, well, it was a huge change. The citizenship law was completely changed. Before that, it was actually illegal to have dual citizenship in the Czech Republic, with some few exceptions. For example, if both of your parents were different nationality, then you could have dual citizenship. But for example, if you wanted to naturalize in the Czech Republic, you always had to give up your former citizenship. So since 2014, it was allowed to have dual citizenship finally, which was the first major change. Also, there was a law that you can actually get a Czech citizenship if you lost your Czech or Czechoslovak citizenship in the past, which was also very important. But it wasn't applying for children and grandchildren yet in 2014. It was later changed in 2019. So even if and it is now applying even for children and grandchildren. So even if your parent or one of the grandparents lost their Czechoslovak citizenship, you can apply for a Czech citizenship. It's called declaration. So this was also second major change. And yeah, well, so these are two big changes, I would say. The whole way of thinking of Czech citizenship changed rapidly.
Okay, and just to be clear, and so that everybody understands, the reason that we're mentioning two different dates, so 2013 and 14, is because I think that's when the law was enacted in 2014, as in that's when it started applying, but it was actually put in place in 2013 from what I remember, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, from 1st January 2014. So
right.
Yeah, it was exactly the same.
So we're both right. Good. I'd like to be right. So prior to that, I think the Czech Republic was quite protective of its citizenship for all kinds of reasons, many of them geopolitical. Also, I think it's only recently that many European nations, and that includes, Poland and Austria and Czech Republic and Hungary, Lithuania, have made these laws a bit more flexible because they recognize that people left their homelands, not through their own choice. They left either for political reasons or because of poverty, and they do want to attract, you know, people returning home, as they call it. So with the Czech Republic and the turbulent history that it's had, tell us, what was the law before 2014? Because there was a major amendment before that in 1993, or did I get the wrong date again?
Well, the Czech Republic was founded in 1993, but actually there was no major change in the citizenship, actually, because it just, you know, Czechoslovak laws just transformed into Czech laws, but they were virtually the same. But well, basically the law before 2014 or 13 were from 8th of May 69. From 69 to 2014 there was a law, and basically it says that, well, yeah, as you said, they didn't really wanted people to have dual citizenship. So but yeah, you are right, actually, that when the Czech Republic was founded, they were even more protective about that. So before the Czech Republic was founded, it was also possible to naturalize abroad and don't lose your Czechoslovak citizenship. But from yeah, so I'm sorry, my bad, I didn't realize that. So you were right, as usual. From 93, there was a law that by naturalization abroad you are automatically losing your Czech citizenship. So this is also why yeah, and it changed 180 degrees from the 1st of January 2014, because before it was by naturalization abroad you are automatically losing your Czech citizenship, and you know, the day later, 1st of January, they told, oh, you yesterday lost your Czech citizenship by naturalization,
but
so today you can apply to get it back.
Yeah. Okay, and of course, in the context of the history of the country and how you know, it was a socialist republic of Czechoslovakia, or so, what was it called?
Yeah,
nobody knows. Right? But it was a federation, then it was a republic, and you know, it was Slovakia was part of the same country, then now it's separate. So it went through all kinds of permutations, and that, of course, affected people's citizenship. So there was a period of time, and maybe you can tell us the precise dates, where you were a Czechoslovak citizen, and underneath of that said Czech citizenship and Slovak citizenship. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you are right that the citizenship laws changed many times during the 20th century, and basically people were Czechoslovak citizens until 1st of January 69, and then it was divided between Czech and Slovak citizens, but there they were still also Czechoslovak citizens. It's the same, for example, I am a Czech citizen, someone else can be a German citizen, but we are both citizens of the European Union,
right?
Because we are citizens of the member states. So it was the same with the federation. And there was quite complicated key to determine if you are Czech or Slovak citizen. But basically from 1st of January 69, people were Czech or Slovak citizens. And they usually didn't even know. They supposed, you know, they are Czechoslovak citizens and don't care. They couldn't usually travel abroad anyway, so they didn't have a passport. Nobody cared actually about that. But it became really important in 92, when the Czechoslovakia was slowly divided. So people need to choose if they want to be a Czech or Slovak citizen, because, you know, Czechoslovak citizenship stopped to exist from last day of 92.
I see. And in terms of how the two citizenships sort of existed, they were equal, right? Like you could say that under the Czechoslovak law, they had the same rights. They were just called differently. And I think it depends on where you came from or your place of birth, or how was it determined that somebody was Slovak or Czech, and you couldn't hold both. Yeah, am I correct? Until today, you can't really hold both.
Exactly. Well, so I will describe the key very simple because there are a few exceptions. But basically, it was divided 1st of January 69, and if you were older than 15 years old that day, which means you were born 53 and earlier, it depended on your place of birth. So if you are Czech if you were born in the Czech part and vice versa. But if you were younger than 15 years old, which means basically born after 53 and any sooner in the 70s, 80s, it depended of the citizenship of your parents. Well, so basically, if you were born in Prague, but both your parents came from Slovakia, you became Slovak citizen too, even though you didn't even know. And of course, it also happened that one of your parents was a Slovak and the second one was a Czech. And in this case, again, it depended on where are you living. So it was quite complicated, but I hope I explained it correctly. The main problem was, for example, people born in, let's say, 60s in Prague found out in 90s they are Slovak citizens because both of their parents are Slovaks, but they never, lived in Slovakia. So of course they could choose citizenship in 90s, 93, but it was quite a surprise for a lot of people, for Slovak parents living in Czech Republic and with Czech parents living in Slovakia.
It sounds very complicated, and that's because it is. But prior to that, there were kind of three significant milestones, I guess. So one was the end of World War II, and one was the end of World War I. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. I would maybe explain it a little bit more into detail. When we are talking about the citizenship of our grandparents or great-grandparents, we need to take in account laws that applied in the date of their birth or marriage and so on. So if they were, if they were married and the law at that time was that, wife was getting husband citizenship automatically, then we cannot judge it by today's laws. We need to judge it by the laws at that date. So it's even possible that, your grandmother became a Czechoslovak citizenship by marriage, even it is not possible for last, 80 years. So, but it was possible then, so it just happened. And as you said, the milestones is founding of Czechoslovakia, which is the same year as end of the World War I, when the Czechoslovak citizenship was founded, which is very important. And then the end of the Second World War, because a lot of people lost their Czechoslovak citizenship then, and they cannot get it back. It's still in Czech Republic laws. So it's very important to understand this. It's mainly about the Germans, Hungarians, and inhabitants of Subcarpathian Ruthenia or Subcarpathian Ukraine.
So when you say they lost citizenship, that's mainly because they either married, naturalized, or lost it in some other way outside of the Czech Republic or within it?
No, they were a lot of people of German nationality, but Czechoslovak citizenship lived in the Czechoslovakia before the Second World War. And after the Second World War, because of the war events and so on, they need to leave Czechoslovakia, usually to Germany or Austria, and they automatically lost their Czechoslovak citizenship. And as I said, for last 70 years, there is a sentence in the Czech law that these people cannot get it back. By decent, if they can get it back just by naturalization.
And just about Slovakia, we get a lot of questions about that because currently there is a piece of legislation before the Slovakian authorities to make the laws a lot more flexible, because prior to now, the laws there are a lot more restrictive, probably one of the more restrictive in Europe. Could you maybe just briefly take us through what we think is going to happen, because nobody knows come 1st of July this year?
Well, as you said, nobody. It's politics, so it's never sure. But we are there is a draft of a law. They want to change the law, so they would finally allow dual citizenship too, because it's now not really allowed in Slovakia, with also a few exceptions. Basically, the same situation as in the Czech Republic a few years ago. So there is a hope that they will finally allow this, but they are, really, they want to be sure that the law is written right, because they are afraid a little about Hungarians, I think, because a lot of people of Hungarian nationality is living in Slovakia, and Hungary is offering them Hungarian citizenship, and Slovaks don't really like to see that. So I think they will solve it somehow in the law, but I'm not sure. Maybe they won't. And this is also why they are so restrictive about this for now. But I think so what we are supposing is that the law will change. They will allow dual citizenship, and they will also allow to get Slovak citizenship to children, grandchildren, and even great-grandchildren of former Slovak citizens. We are not really sure about how the exact conditions will look like, but it's definitely good news for a lot of people of Slovak origin all around the world.
It's certainly on the cards. And one of the differences between Czech and Slovak citizenship is also how the applications are filed. So for Slovak citizenship, you do need to attend a consular appointment, which at the moment is difficult, because in some, Slovakia is not a big country. So, for example, there's only one consulate in Australia, in Canberra. So if you want to apply, you need to actually travel to Canberra. And we find that the consulate here is very helpful and very competent, but it's just the way that it needs to be done. So, for example, we have two clients, and one of them lives in Singapore, the other one in South Korea. And because they have no COVID in South Korea, he was able to put his application in, and it really didn't take long. I think it took less than 3 months to get it approved, but the other brother just cannot do it. And the Slovakian authorities won't budge. They won't allow any Zoom meetings. You have to come in person. That's the process, and you have to follow it, and that's it. So we don't know, for example, whether they're going to do away with that requirement and allow for postal votes like the Czech Republic does, and Poland does, and Germany does. So we just have to watch that space, and it's still a little bit unclear. And as you said, it's a very, very big change, not just in the legislation, but I think in how the Slovakian people will feel about it, right? What do you think? What are the sentiments in Slovakia? Do you think people are for it or against it, for change of this law?
Well, it depends. I think, people in Hungarian regions in southern Slovakia, they are definitely happy about that, because I think they would prefer to have both passports, Slovak and the Hungarian ones. People, in just Slovak areas without Hungarians, they are maybe a little bit afraid of that, because maybe they are afraid that Hungary will try to get these people to Hungary and not to stay them in Slovakia. I think the Hungary is the main topic of discussions in parliament and so on. But people are also, for example, I know a lot of Slovaks in the Czech Republic, and they are looking forward for that, because they had to give up a Czech citizenship when they moved there and want Czech citizenship, or they still have a Slovak citizenship and they are waiting for laws to change, because they told me, I don't want to lose my Slovak citizenship. I can live here in the Czech Republic legally, but when the laws will finally change, I can apply for a Czech passport too, and I will have both. So I think, depends who will you ask.
Who you ask, yeah.
But I think people living abroad or have some connection with Czech Republic usually, or Hungary, are really looking forward for this law.
Yeah, so we'll just have to watch this space and see what happens. I mean, it's already been delayed a couple of times because of COVID. It was meant to be introduced last year, then April, and now it's July. But I think there's a lot of excitement within the Slovak diaspora, because people do want to reclaim their citizenship. And I think by the fact that they'll open it to further generations, that should make that process a bit easier and facilitate it. Jakub, what I'd like us to do now is do a little bit of a case study. So we're going to imagine that I'm Czech, which I'm not, or well, my parents, but maybe my grandparents were. Right? So I was born in New York in 1967. My mom was Slovak, my father was Czech, and they married in 1962. They both immigrated as children in 1947. My mom was 7 years old, my father was 8. Right?
Okay.
Do I qualify or do I not qualify for Czech citizenship?
Well, you have chosen the most complicated
Yay!
process, which is good, of course. Basically, you are qualifying for Czech citizenship because, or I would say you are qualifying for Czechoslovak citizenship because in '67 it was a condition that you both your parents needs to be Czechoslovak citizen for you to become a Czechoslovak citizen. So you were born as a Czechoslovak citizen. But now it will be difficult to determine if you are a Czech or a Slovak because your father was, as you said, your father was Czech and your mom was Slovak, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you basically and you were born in the United States, so it's basically it's not clear what citizenship you are, and in this case you can basically choose your citizenship because there is a sentence in the Czech law that for former Czechoslovak citizenships where it's not clear whether they are Czech or Slovak citizenship, they can choose it. But it's a complicated procedure, let's say, because we need to deal both with Czech and Slovak authorities to get confirmations from both these authorities, and this of course make process a lot longer. So it would be better if, for example, both your parents came from the Slovak part or from the Czech part, but of course these cases happens too, and we can solve that. But I just say that this is the most complicated case, so it can take a longer time than usual.
Right. And what if my grandparents left before 1918? Am I likely eligible or not?
You are not under the under the current Czech law or the Slovak law. Under the current Slovak law, not at all now, but maybe later when the laws will change, you will be. We are not sure about that right now. But about from the Czech point of view, you are not, because you left as a Austria-Hungarian citizen and not as a Czechoslovak citizen, because Czechoslovak citizenship was founded in 1918 basically, and there was a condition that you need to live at least 80 years without any interruption in the territory of new formed Czechoslovakia. So basically you never became a Czechoslovak citizen, and this is why nor you, if you are still alive, nor your children or grandchildren can renew their Czech citizenship.
Okay, because that's not something that I've ever held, essentially, because there was no Czechoslovakia, there was no Czech Republic, and none of that. Okay, and in terms of what sort of documents I would have to provide, because there's one thing about me telling you that my parents were Czech and Slovak, whatever, but it's another to be able to prove it. Like, what sort of documents would the Czech and Slovak government want to be sure that I was born Czech or Slovak or whatever it was?
This depends on what is the way how you are applying for your citizenship, because there are a few ways. But basically, you will need to prove your connection to your Czech or Slovak ancestors. So you will definitely need your birth certificate, your parents' marriage certificate if they were married, your Czech or Slovak parent birth certificate, and if they were not born in the Czech Republic or Slovakia, you will need to go one generation deeper in the history and also get your grandfather, grandmother birth and marriage certificate. So basically until you will get back to Slovakia or the Czech Republic, and these documents also needs to be translated from Czech or Slovak into from English usually because if you were born in the United States, then from English into Czech or Slovak, we can do this for you, of course. And they usually also need something which is called apostille, and this is kind of international verification. So the Czech or the Slovak authorities will know that the documents are originals.
And in terms, Jakub, of how you work, essentially here in Melbourne, we had Alexandra, and you also had Justine that I think still works with you sometimes. In terms of how you assess people's eligibility, what's your method? What do we do so that we can give people the right answer, whether they qualify or not?
Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, it's important to know the laws that applied in the date when some event happened, when the grandfather of the client was born or something. So basically, I needed to learn all the Czech and Slovak laws from the whole 20th century and the beginning of 21st. And I see, for example, client's grandfather was born in 59 in the United States. Then he didn't acquire a Czechoslovak citizenship because just one of his parents was Czechoslovak, and it was a condition then that both parents need to be Czechoslovak. So like this, I can, I can see it quite immediately because I know all the laws and I do it a few hours every day. So I have some training in that. But for, if you are not professional, it can be difficult because you would have to go through all the laws from the 20th century. They are usually not in English, they are just in Czech. So it can be hard, and I recommend to send us a family tree, and we will, access your case for free and tell you, well, you are not, or sometimes we can call you, tell you that some research need to be done, so we can be sure. But yeah, so I basically know all the old laws and just looking on the dates and places. This is my method.
Right, because it is assessed individually, and I think a lot of people expect a quick answer, but sometimes we can't give them a quick answer because we are going back sometimes 80, sometimes 100 years ago, and I think people's family histories are fragmented. Sometimes they, people that come to us don't have certain information, so we need to know, for example, when someone naturalized, when somebody married, and also what documents they have. So we deeply look into person's family history. We might even do a little bit of research at the beginning just to check that you're not going to be wasting your time and money pursuing something that you'll never get. So for example, for Slovak, the laws currently as they stand, they are pretty restrictive. So we can very quickly tell someone that currently as it is, you don't qualify. For Czech, it's a bit more complicated because there are several generations you can go back to, but you need to not just check the legislation, but also how they apply in time to a person's life, but also going back to whoever was Czech when they left, when they immigrated, when they naturalized. So can you maybe explain to us what sort of documents you would look at to assess that?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always good if the client can send us all the Czech or Slovak documents of their ancestors they have. They sometimes don't even understand what it is. They are sometimes, it's not really useful, but it doesn't matter. I will look at everything and, tell. And so sometimes it's they are really useful documents that without them, I would assess the case that the client is unfortunately not eligible. But from the documents, I see some kind of fact what happened in history, and I see that they could be eligible. So it's useful to send us as much documents as they have. And in case of Czech citizenship, there is also good to send us naturalization certificates, especially from United States, but it's useful even from other countries. So this can help to access the client's eligibility too. So basically, I would say, Czech or Slovak documents and naturalization certificates from abroad.
Right. And we don't like saying no to clients, of course, because we focus on good customer service, but sometimes we have to. And I think sometimes it's, I would even call it heartbreaking for some people because they suddenly feel Czech and they know, or Slovak, and they know that their ancestors were from there. But usually it's some sort of a technicality in the law that prevents them from being able to be confirmed citizens. So I just wanted to lastly briefly ask you to take us through the naturalization laws in the Czech Republic in this instance, because there's a requirement to be a resident, and there's a few other bits and pieces. So if you do not qualify through descent, the way that we described through the case study that I did with Jakub, could you, Jakub, tell us how do you naturalize in the Czech Republic?
Well, yeah, I have to say that not getting a Czech citizenship by naturalization is possible for everyone basically in the world, but it's much more harder and complicated than through descent. But it's possible. You need to meet just few conditions. The first one is to live in the Czech Republic, have a residence there. First, you can get a permanent residence usually after 5 years of living in the Czech Republic, and then you need like 5 more years of a permanent residence to get a citizenship. So in total, this is 10 years, which is a lot, but it can be fast tracked if you, for example, are a citizen of another EU country. This is usually just 8 years of if you are, for example, husband or wife or of Czech citizen. This is usually, well, I cannot promise anything, but usually it can be just 5 years or 8 years. And yeah, so this is the first condition, to live in the Czech Republic for some period of time. The other condition is basically you need to prove your knowledge of the Czech language. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be
Too advanced.
a professor on university, but you need to show that you are able to communicate in Czech on some basic level. And also there is a test about the history, geography, and culture of the Czech Republic. But I mean, the questions are on the website of the government, and they are just, there are like thousands of questions, and they are generated automatically. So if you want to be sure, you can just spend a week on your computer and
just
go
learning
through
it.
all these questions until you will be sure. So nothing. It's like in school basically, but you know the questions in advance. So I think it's better than in school. And but this does not apply for small children, for elderly people up to 65 years old, and also if you attended a Czech school or Czech university. So there's, and well, if you are adult, you also need to prove your income, and well, so your income, and of course that you don't have any criminal
record. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is very important because this condition cannot be waived. Basically, if you have criminal record, you need to wait until it will be deleted. So yeah, for obvious reasons, I think. So this is for the Czech Republic. And for Slovakia, it's actually really similar. It's the same, just the language is Slovak. And the waiting times is, it's usually also about 10 years. It can be even 13 years. So it's very similar for naturalization in both these countries. The only difference is in the length of stay.
Right. Wow. So let me tell you that Polish is much easier and much faster. But that's okay. That's all right. I think it sounds like both Slovakia and the Czech Republic are quite protective of, as we said, citizenship, and they want the right people to get it. But I just wanted to thank you for explaining it all to us. And if people are watching it, that are watching the session, think it's complicated, again, I say it's because it is. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to Jakub or one of our staff here, Alexandra, and there's a few other citizenship specialists. So any questions, let us know. But in the meantime, thank you, Jakub, for your time.
Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thanks.